Everybody can hear me. Thank you so much for joining us for today's session. My name is Adele. I am the B2B Sales Manager at TP-Link South Africa. This is Francois, he's our pre-sales at TP-Link South Africa. Today's session, we're going to cover the Omada and VIGI management platform, which is called Omada Central. Questions will be answered afterwards. You will see there on the top of your screen, there's a little Q&A button. All your questions you can post there. We will answer that after the session. And you can also post anonymously on there if you will, or if you want to. The session will be recorded and we will share it with all the attendees afterwards as well. I'm going to give over to Francois to start the session. Thank you so guys for attending.
Thank you so much for everyone for joining, and thanks for everyone who joined on the last one. As Adele mentioned, we'll be covering Omada Central today. So yeah, let me bring up the presentation for you guys. Okay, hopefully everyone can see that. I'm pretty sure you can. Yeah, as I mentioned, thank you very much for joining. Today we'll be discussing Omada Central. We'll be going through a few things, what Omada Central is, the issues that it resolves, as well as some use cases actually, in today's IT industry. So before we talk about what Omada Central itself is, I think we need to look at the actual business challenges that people are dealing with today. I'm sure everybody has seen how many connected devices business are actually having these days. It's more Wi-Fi devices, more cameras, more remote users, more different branches out there. All these different issues, things that we're looking at. And with that, we then end up having multiple platforms. One for CCTV, one for switches and access points. So we're using different logins, different monitoring systems. All that it really causes a big issue. When you have a problem on site, people are scrambling, running around, trying to find out, is it a switch? Is it the internet? Is it the camera? Or is it the Wi-Fi? No one knows what's really going on just from looking at, the system, because now there's different systems. Someone's logging in here, someone's logging in there. It's all different credentials. It just takes time to sort these issues out. And obviously with that, people are just going in, rebooting everything. That does mean things are down. Yes, it does come back up, but you're rebooting the entire switch. The entire network goes down. And obviously, these issues cost money. They cost time. And obviously it's a very manual process of adding all your devices in. And that is where Omada Central comes in. So what exactly is Omada Central? In simple terms, Omada Central is TP-Link's unified cloud management platform, where we can actually bring in VIGI and Omada into the same platform. So your networking and surveillance all together in one ecosystem. With this, you can manage gateways, switches, access points, all your cameras, and your NVRs. Everything will be managed in that one platform. That means one login, one dashboard, and one ecosystem for everything to work together. So now IT teams and installers can manage the network and surveillance together instead of jumping between two different systems, two different logins. Maybe one guy is dedicated to only doing surveillance, and the other guy is maybe dedicated to monitoring the network. It always comes to that issue where, it's a he said, she said. This one's saying no, it's the camera. That one's saying no, it's the switch. They're always going to argue with each other and say that, it's the other one's fault. With the Omada Central, obviously, we relieve that by having the one central system, which actually then notifies you, gives you some visibility of the network, whether the switch is down, whether the camera is down. You'll get notifications and simple things like having an automatic PoE reboot, where you can actually, if the camera stops responding to the switch, it will then reboot the camera and see if you can get the camera back online. Okay, let's talk about why it is better to have surveillance and network all on one system. I think I have mentioned a few points, but now obviously looking at the entire solution, traditionally what we'd have to do is one platform for CCTV, another for Wi-Fi. Sometimes even switching could be different. All of them have separate passwords, separate monitoring platforms, and obviously in the end of it, it really makes it hard to diagnose where the issue is, and we have longer downtimes, costing companies money. Where with Omada Central, it's just one platform, one management system. I can see everything from there. I can configure everything from there, and all I have is one login, which I can actually share to multiple people. Not only share with full rights, but I can decide who has rights to what. Also, in that, a big thing that people do sometimes have an issue with is when sharing, some employees might, make mistakes or try and be spiteful, try and hide it. But with sharing, you actually have a log. So when someone does change something on the system, you will have a log that shows this was changed this time, this date by this user. So it's something that you can utilize to ensure that the system not only works perfectly, but also management from a management side, that multiple branches, multiple IT members, they can all then edit and change, and you can view those things from one single pane. Just going into a deep dive on some of the functions. I've chose a few that I think is really good in the industries, in different industries that really make a difference from a Omada Central side. And the first one is multi-site management. One of the biggest advantages in this, obviously, is the multi-site management. Businesses across multiple locations, a lot of people have different sites, different venues, all situated across, the country. It could be retail stores, schools, warehouses, hotels, franchise groups, or even office parks, business parks, all that. So traditionally, you would need to manage those sites one by one, which really makes it very difficult. No one can sit centrally somewhere and ensure that everyone has the same SSID, the same settings or the same setup, where, for example, if a manager was going across the country to visit each site, at each site you'd have to then get a new username and password or get a new login for the Wi-Fi, where with this multi-site management, you can have one dedicated IT guy that defines and sets up all these settings across all the different sites. So it's much easier moving from site to site and obviously managing those sites. Also, from one dashboard, you can see, the site status. So you can see if there's any offline devices, if there's any issues on site. You can see the connected devices, the clients, alerts, surveillance activity, and obviously the overall health from the system. Obviously, this gives you a great visibility of the entire network right around, all the different sites. You can sit in Johannesburg and monitor sites, across the country without physically being there. And again, especially in South Africa, where deployments are often spread out geographically, it does become, quite a lot, money-wise, time-wise, to get someone out to different sites, where all of this can now be managed from Omada Central. And obviously, looking at unified topology within that, as I mentioned, you can see everything from one, and obviously monitoring. All of this now falls on the one system. Instead of managing the network and surveillance separately, everything appears in one centralized topology. I can see my gateway, my switches, my access points, my cameras, and my NVRs all inside this one environment. I can easily see if there's any devices offline. I can easily see my different VLANs that I've configured. So if a camera is disconnected, I can see that camera is disconnected. If the camera is not on a VLAN that I've set, once I click on my certain VLANs, it will actually show me that that camera is not on that VLAN. Quick, easy ways of seeing what could be wrong, what could be the issue, and really easy ways to monitor and manage that. You can also see the device health. You can see the connectivity, so devices that are connected to that access point, for example, network performance, and you can see obviously if all your cameras are online or offline. In larger environments like schools, warehouses, and hospitality, this level of visibility becomes incredibly valuable. The next function that I thought was a very good one is ZTP, or Zero Touch Provisioning. Honestly, this is one of those features that can completely change how deployments are done. ZTP basically allows you to do is deploy devices remotely with almost no manual setup required on site. And the workflow is very straightforward. Basically, at the site from Omada, you can create all your usernames, your passwords, your Wi-Fi settings, everything, VLAN, all that you set up before you even open the box. You ship it to site. Once it gets there, the installation team basically plugs it in, makes sure everything's connected, and as soon as it connects it to the internet, it will then automatically adopt all those settings from the cloud, and everything will be online and ready. This is really a game saver. It changes so much on having, multiple people, on site, where I can have my installation team only on site instead of sending out, the main technician to be on every single site. That saves on travel costs. If that guy had to then go around to each site to do the deployment, that causes delays, scheduling issues. Sometimes something at one site goes wrong. You can't be at the next site to then start that site up. All of this, will be much better from the Omada Central side, where you can configure everything, get the installation team to deploy. If there's any issues, he doesn't have to be on site to change those settings. The next function is, operational intelligence, just AI mainly. Everyone knows about AI in surveillance, but we all know that these days surveillance isn't just about getting video footage. We want to use the surveillance to know more about the business, where we can learn a bit more insight, get more detail just from that surveillance. Instead of having a camera just for security, now we can use the camera for people counting, queue monitoring, customer analytics, occupancy tracking, and movement patterns. All of this can be used in retail, hospitality, schools, and public functions. It really helps the business understand more about, what the daily goings. We can, with people counting, companies can ensure that they have sufficient people on site, at certain times. They don't have to have all 10 tools, available all the time. With the people counting, they can see what are busier times, what are slower times, make sure that when those busier times get there, they have enough manpower to actually handle. With queue management, we can see when queues are getting long, maybe get someone from the shelves who's busy packing shelves or busy doing helping a customer, maybe get them to come help and assist in getting the queues down. So there's a lot of things that we can actually use from the camera side to help our business grow and help understand our business much better. The next function, remote troubleshooting. This is another section, installers and MSPs usually love, because remote troubleshooting completely changes how the support is handled. If I have customers 200 kilometers away and I have to send someone out to go and change to go plug a camera out and plug it back in just for the camera to work. That wastes a lot of time, a lot of cost, where from, the Omada Central side, I can basically just see, okay, there's something wrong with that access point, that camera, see if I can restart the port, see if I can get the camera back online. 99% of the time, usually a good reboot helps get everything working, helps get everything going. And for you to be on site for that 200 kilometers away, that really, that's travel time, labor costs, clients downtime, and obviously a slower support response. I'm sure everybody that's in this business would like to make that phone call to a customer, before the customer even gets to site and say, I know there's a switch off. I've tried everything I can, but my guy is on his way with a new switch to replace it. The customer, the end user hasn't even noticed that anything is off and he's getting that call. That shows confidence in the solution and in the product. So it really helps, drive that business to customers. And all this, obviously, from an online platform, where I can monitor the cameras and the system, makes that so much easier and so much cost effective compared to other solutions. The last one on some functions and features is obviously the design tools. I think this is really such a great help in getting businesses or getting, getting sites deployed, giving customers a quote. With this deployment tool, you can really give a solution to a customer with confidence and know that what you're offering the customer is going to work, and he can see that you know what you're doing. So from CCTV tools, it allows you to simulate the cameras, coverage before you even install. This way you can optimize camera placement, ensure that there's no blind spots, verify coverage, and obviously from a point ensure that what the customer wants from that camera can actually be monitored. We will do a demonstration a little bit later, but you can actually see the pixel index, and that will give you a bit more information about what you can see, what you can monitor from the camera. With the Wi-Fi design tool, we can simulate the signal strength, we can identify weak spots, optimize the AP placement, and obviously improve coverage. The biggest thing about this is giving customers the solution. Normally they'll say, oh, but 10 cameras, that's a bit too much. You can show them why I'm quoting 10 cameras for the solution, or why I'm quoting 5 access points. And if the customer decides to not go with that solution, and maybe brings it down to 4, or 3 access points, when there's a dead zone later on, he can't just come back and say that, you didn't tell me there was going to be a dead spot. You have the proof to show him that you quoted on those amount of access points for an actual reason. But obviously, this is not just useful in normal households. I mean, in schools, deployments, you can ensure that there's full coverage before you even start installing. And warehouses, even in retail, hospitality, and any large office environments. So instead of fixing the problem afterwards, you now have the tool to show this is why, and this is the solution that is needed. Okay, looking at some real-world business use cases. First of all, hospitality. In hospitality environments, connectivity becomes the biggest part of guest experience these days. We all know everybody wants to have stable Wi-Fi wherever you go, to hotels, in the hotel rooms, reception areas, restaurants, even the outside, by the pool. Everybody wants to have Wi-Fi when they are on holiday. And with Omada Central, obviously, businesses can deliver seamless roaming across the entire property. So not only do customers or guests have, Wi-Fi from their hotel room right to the pool, everything is seamlessly. So they connect. They don't even know that they've disconnected from one access point and reconnected to another one. customizable guest portal, allows hotels and resorts to create branded guest Wi-Fi. With that, obviously, we add security, for the site, which is really important as well. We can separate guest traffic from hotel traffic. We can even isolate each individual guest. So each guest has their own network. They can't see anyone else on the network, and no one can see them on the network. Now, for hospitality groups, managing multiple properties, centralized management becomes a huge advantage. And integrated surveillance obviously also improves visibility across, entrances, park areas, and as well as public spaces. Our next use case, retail stores. Obviously, in the retail environment, they always rely on connectivity as well. Everything depends on the network. Our POS systems, payment terminals, inventory systems, even guest Wi-Fi. They've got digital signage and obviously the surveillance, all on one network. If something goes wrong there, it's really hard to figure out where the issue is. That causes downtime for them, and in that, obviously they lose money. So once again, like as I mentioned, with businesses, they can monitor queues, they can monitor customer movement, congested areas, and they can obviously use this. One of our great things is the heat map. Heat map from the camera. Basically, what it will do is it will actually, create a heat map based on where users are or where people are. So it will pick up busy areas. Retail stores can see from there. Okay, this is a busy area. This is where a lot of people are. Maybe here I can put up some marketing. Try and add more to the business rather than just using, once again, the cameras just for surveillance. And for franchisee groups who open up new business branches, the zero-touch deployment is really effective for getting new sites up and running as soon as possible. You can also deploy multiple stores much faster without the manual configuration that you need and needing someone on site. Schools and campuses. Schools and campuses are becoming more connected every year. Today, almost every student and staff member has multiple devices connected to the network, and one of the biggest challenges in the education is BYD. Bring your own device. I'm sure everybody knows, it's not only devices that schools give them, everybody is bringing their own devices. First of all, we need to ensure that there's stable Wi-Fi, secure connectivity, even centralized visibility of the entire network. Also, scalability becomes a big thing. Once we try and add, 100, 200, 300, even 1,000 users to, a unmanaged site, that really makes it a lot harder to get those devices connected, get those people connected, see what is on the network and what could be causing issues on the network. With Omada Central, administrators can manage entire campuses with one centralized platform. And security is also extremely important. So once again, we can create student networks, staff networks, guest access, and even administrative systems. We can allow connections to certain devices and obviously, keep certain devices completely isolated once again. As well as, once again, bringing in the surveillance side, for the entrances, for corridors, for parking areas. We know in South Africa, riots are quite, sometimes there's some riots, outside schools with functions like people gathering from the camera. You can put it up, you set a limit to how many people actually can be or needs to be in a certain area. If it goes over that, you'll get a notification. You can then at least see what's happening. Is it a riot? Is something happening? Why are that many people, going into that general area. So it just gives you an overview, obviously not just on camera or recordings, but early alerts that actually ensure that you know beforehand what's happening. The last one, warehouse and logistics. Warehouses and logistics environments depend heavily on stable connectivity and obviously operational visibility. In these environments, downtimes obviously impact productivity. So having reliable coverage across the entire site really ensures, that everything goes well and works extremely well. With Omada, we can give you coverage on your warehouse floors, loading zones, storage areas, dispatch operations, and outdoor spaces. We've got the industrial switches, which you can then use in these environments, ensure that they run at high temperatures, and obviously in a very dusty environment. And with all of this, once again, all of this can be done with the Omada Central and the surveillance, adding into this, ensuring that we have separate networks for our IoT devices. We can ensure that all our scanners are given priority on the network. If something else is bringing the network down, we know that our surveillance, our IoT devices, all those can be connected to certain VLANs, given certain priority, and that will ensure that that traffic actually reaches its destination. Okay, I want to just do a bit of a demonstration for you guys. What we will cover is basically just on adding a new site, how to create a new site. I'm also going to just explain the difference between Omada Standard and Essentials. A very important thing that I need to, before I forget to mention, is at the moment, the Omada Central is only available on our cloud platforms, on our cloud bases. It is not available on our hardware or our software controllers. We are still working on that. Once that changes, we will ensure that everybody's updated. But for now, it is only on our cloud-based controllers. So once you log in to the Omada Cloud, you can easily add a new site. This is where obviously the essential part comes in. Essentials is completely free. You get a lot of the functionality, with Essentials. However, the standard, which is our license-based one, has more functionality and more features that is part of, it's more AI, things just to help the site a little bit better. We'll go through a bit of the functionality, but I think the most important on the standard is the AI-based search functionality. We will be adding our BR. This will also be part of the standard functions. However, these functions, generally, a lot of them can be used on the NVR itself. Some of them, like the face recognition and the heat map, that will require connection to the VMS. So all of these functions and everything, there is obviously on our guide, which you can then see if they require standard. So once I click standard, I can click next. We can create the organization name. We select our country. Obviously the time zone. This is the important part. So the scenario, so Omada networking, that's just our Omada SDN. And by adding the Omada guard, that gives us obviously, adding the cameras. You can also attach alarm images. This really explains everything. So when it's enabled, when a device sends a notification, it will attach an alarm thumbnail when uploading the alarm information to Omada Guard. Accept the terms and conditions. Here you can join the user experience if you want. This basically just gives you a bit more, functions and features that aren't fully embedded. So it's like a, early experience. I'm going to leave that off for now. But once a site is created, or once our organization is created, you get a few tips and tricks here. But I think the main part is then to add a new site. So a new site is then, I think the best way to explain this is, our organization could be McDonald's, and then the site would be each and every individual site. So site name is called the central. The application scenario isn't really important. It is just something that you can use to, get a more detail about the specific scenario. I'm going to pick office for now, but it's not going to, no functions or features will fall away depending on what, solution you pick. Obviously, South Africa is already selected. You can then use the NTP. So if you want to add an NTP site, you can then add that in. Daylight savings, you can disable. Important to know about the username and password. This username and password will be configured and then set to each device that you connect up to the site. So if you remove it from site and you need to access it locally by logging into it, you will then need to use this username and password. It will adopt it from there and then change that username and password to what we create. Okay, our Agile series is just our easy money switches. You can just select that if you have some Agile series, and then the site map or the site address, you can then add that. That is optional. However, if you want to have all your sites on the site map, you can just put it in here. Once you click apply, now you have your site. So this is our overview. So Omada Central Plane. This gives you obviously all the alerts, all the network devices and your surveillance devices. And I can easily just go to Omada Networks. This will give me obviously more settings based on, the network. VLANs, configuring the VLANs. We'll still see from the topology here, you'll be able to see all your devices, including your cameras. From one glance, from the overview side, you can get a lot of information. This is also customizable, so you can actually change what information you want to see. Sorry, you can add blocks of information that you would like to see from here. We can see our devices, all the devices on our network side that's added. So gateways, switches, APs. Important thing that I want to show, the insights. This is only part of the Omada standard functionality. But from here, we can get some application, insight. What applications have been used? What websites have been accessed? It's not per user, unfortunately, but you can see an overview of the network. Once we can actually see, then when we go into apps, we can see the apps, and then we can also see users, how their experience was. So was this device, how many times did it roam? Did it have some issues roaming? It just gives you a more insight on your network, what's going on. From the device config, as I mentioned with the ZTP, I can actually go and I can create a wireless LAN now. So I can create my SSID. I can obviously say, okay, do a device type, gateway is going to be there. Is it going to have the 6 gigahertz, or am I adding Wi-Fi 7 devices? Guest network, this is not, let's just say it's not a guest network. Put it on enterprise, connect it to the radius if I have, create the password. And if I, obviously, once I apply these settings, that is my settings for the site. Once I add in any access points to this, it will then automatically adopt these settings and actually configure the devices without having to plug in, without having to log into each and every device and configure each device. You will actually have to connect them up, they connect to the internet, and it will then take on those settings. What I do want to show is the design tool. this is just some sites that I personally have designed, but I want to show you guys obviously on the wireless on the network side, how the wireless actually looks. This is part of the free. So this is essentials. So you can still use the free cloud to actually do have this functionality. So it's not something that you have to pay for. By just adding in the walls are a bit of a manual process. So you need to draw in the walls manually, but then you can just simulate the coverage, and it will actually show you the actual true coverage. With our this obviously can be done from the Omada Central, as well as the cameras. I am just going to show you from the VMS side, because I have configured on a VMS, but this will still be part of the central once I actually show you. So once I click on Omada Guard, I can also then just go to the map. On the map, I can go design tool, and I'll get the same basically that I have here. It's just because I have the site, so I want to show you guys. But what is nice about it, once you click on a camera, it will actually show you, as I mentioned, the pixel density, and you can actually see where you can get different functions. So if I say identification, so if I want to use actual facial recognition, I can ensure and I can say up to 11.8 meters away, I can still get facial recognition. Once I go beyond that, I can still recognize humans, and I can still recognize vehicles, and still get a little bit on the number plate there. As you move further, you can actually see a change, and I can then say, okay, at distances, I can just observe what's going on, so it will pick up motion, and if it's any further, we might not see the number plate. So it gives you a great insight into what you can see from the camera, and as well as what the camera can display for the customer. Okay, we will now be going to the Q&A. So if there are any questions, please just let us know. We will read them and answer them as we go.
Guys, I see there's a little bit of a delay again on our webinar. Please just give us time to read the questions. We will, as we read the questions, we will give a few minutes for people just to make sure that everybody has heard us, and then carry on to the next one.
Okay, if you have cameras already deployed at a site managed by the cloud central VMS, can you transfer to TP-Link? Unfortunately, no. You can't. You can export some of the configs, but because it is more obviously just adding the camera into the solution, you would need to basically manually move them over. It won't be something that you can export and then import into Omada Central. Can we upgrade from Essentials to Standard once the site has been deployed? Yes, you can easily upgrade from Essentials to Standard. However, going from Standard to Essentials is not possible. So yes, you can upgrade, but you can't downgrade. Also, just on that, obviously the licenses are device-based. So for each device you add, you pay a yearly fee, and then obviously that will then be for the device itself. You can link that to other devices. So let's say if a device does fail, I can then remove that device, and then I'll have a license available once again, obviously just to add.
See, Tandwa has started answering some of our questions there. Hi, Tandwa. Let's just carry on to the next question.
To support multiple SSDs. SSDs as in hard drives, it does not, But yes, you can actually, for creating groups, you can actually create a access point group. So that it is possible, which you can then obviously use to then say that this access point group has this SSID, these settings, and then this access point group has this SSID and those settings. So you can create different groups in the access points. Is it possible to connect intra?
Is there a possibility to connect to Entra to the Omada cloud using Entra to provide items such as radius authentication on the wireless?
I'm not sure what Entra is, but if it is, we do support obviously third-party radius. So on the Omada side, we have 100% do support it. You can actually use that. You can basically just say, okay, once you've got the paid for or a hardware controller, you can then point it to a third-party radius. We also support Open API. So if there's something that you want to script or write yourself, you are possible to do that. So if Entra is something that is running, separate from its on own platform, and you can actually, write some scripts, you can then incorporate Omada Central into Entra if that is obviously from a SDK and API side.
Andrew's question, can you move a site to a different organization on Omada Central?
Yes, you can export the settings from the site and then import it into a different organization. It is a bit tricky, but it is possible to do it with just the upload, with the taking that information and then configuring it. So you'd have to create the new site and then import the settings on that. Okay, new.
Does the switch have a reset button?
Yes, some of our switches do. On some of the higher the higher graded switches, they don't have, but generally on our easy managed, our layer 2, they all have reset buttons. It's more from our layer 3 side up. Sometimes they don't. This is just then done by console. So you have to then log in through console and then reset the switch that way.
Andrew, we note your comment. Thank you so much for that. That is also the feedback we receive from a lot of customers. Andrew says, it's not a question. We use these products at a lot of our customers. A lot of these features and performance for the price point and easy to configure out and configure or to figure out and configure. Thank you, Andrew. We do hear that a lot. Thank you for that feedback. Yeah,
yeah. Can any device be added to Omada or only Omada certified devices? Yes, unfortunately, only Omada devices can be added in on the central side. So if you're doing a deployment with maybe Hikvision cameras or Dawa or any other third-party brands, it can support up to 64 cameras, obviously added through a NVR. So I can still have, a VIGI NVR with Hikvision cameras added, and that will still be able to be managed and monitored from the Omada Central or the VMS side. But on the Omada side, only our devices work on there. It's all just about the protocols, unfortunately, on that one.
Does the controller support multiple SSIDs?
Oh, okay. There we go. I must have misread. Yeah, so it does obviously support multiple SSIDs. You can 100% have the multiple SSIDs. You can have up to 8 per radio, so per access point. And then, as I mentioned, yes, you can actually run multiple AP groups.
Yeah.
With the retail heat map on. With the retail heat map on Wi-Fi, have a guest portal and guest tracking and presence on dwelling times.
I think Marcel means will there.
Yeah. No. It won't. You can set up obviously sometimes on the Wi-Fi, basically just to see how long people were on a certain SSID or a certain access point. But on the heat map side, it obviously is just more determined based on color. So how long, or how many people were in a certain spot, and that will then obviously change colors as more people go there or more, people move there or stay there longer. So it won't actually track that on presence and dwelling times, unfortunately.
Sandra, now we saw your post, Sandra. Let's go down. I think we missed one at the bottom. No, I think we can.
Sandra, we did see, I'm not sure if yours is going away, but we did see some of your comments. Thank you. Here are heat map simulations. It is quite accurate. All depends on obviously using the right equipment or the right walls that you actually have in there. With our new tool that's still kind of in development, it is out there if you guys want to go and test it. It is our Omada Design Center or design tool. You can then use this to actually import a AutoCAD drawing, obviously with that mentioning what the wall structure is, what the all of that is. That obviously ensures the more accurate reading you get. However, it is not 100%. It is more just an overview to ensure that you kind of reach all the dead spots as much as possible. So it's not 100% accurate, but yes, it does give you at least, I'd say, up to an 80% accuracy. Just want to see, Tamba, can I give access to a new client as a demo for the office plans, proposals, drawings, adaptive in?
So I just want to read down this question. Can I give access to a new customer as a demo for the office plans and proposal, and are the drawings adaptive as in motion to test distance?
No, I'm not sure. I don't think it is.
You can give access to the portal.
You can share, so you can share your site to a customer. He can then obviously see that site that if you've got the floor plan on there and you've started adding APs, yes, he can see that. He can also interact with that. So two people can be working on a project together, obviously not at the same time, but two people can view it or multiple people can view it. I'm not sure if you're talking about in motion to test distance, but if on Omada design tool, you can actually move the access points live and it will simulate it as you move it around. So it's not something you have to then click simulate. But to test distance, I think if you're mainly talking about just actually having once it's installed, we do have the Omada or the TP-Link Navi app, which actually does test roaming. It tests, signal strength. It tests quite a few things on the Wi-Fi side when the deployment is done and you want to test some, Wi-Fi situations.
Okay. So I just want to make sure we've got all the questions, guys. Ryan's asking, is there a benefit to move cameras from the cloud VMS to the central?
At the moment, 100% yes. If you're going to be using the paid-for version on the Omada Central, you will get more features. If you're not planning, if you're happy with what you have from the VMS, there's no difference between the VMS and the Omada Central standard. We will be bringing out a VMS paid-for version later on, which will then include all the same functions from the AI. But yeah, the only benefit that I'd say is obviously having, if you do have Omada switches and you're doing the paid-for version, you get functions like automatic PoE reboot, PoE schedule, so you can actually switch off, certain ports, certain times, and obviously the automatic like watchdog. So when a camera does go, if the camera stops communicating to a switch, it will then obviously automatically then reconnect, or the switch will then switch it off and switch the port back on to see if it can get the camera back up. That's the only benefit that I'd say if you're not using the paid for. Obviously, if you're using the paid for version, you get a lot more AI features. Okay.
Johan is asking, is there voice over IP, unified talk, and access control, unified access coming in the future as with Ubiquity, unified systems, or for Omada?
At the moment, no. We don't have any access control or anything at the moment. Nothing planned as yet. We are planning a few things with combined routers, or a 3-in-1 router that's basically NVR, controller, and router. That's at the moment the biggest news that I can say we currently have, but no access control at the moment, or any VoIP devices, unfortunately.
Okay, Tandwa, I see your comment there, but I'll give you a call after this just to understand what you're saying. Brandon is saying, do you see Omada eventually becoming a full infrastructure ecosystem like Unify, including native voice over IP and access control? I think we just answered that question in the previous one.
I'm not sure if we actually, hopefully we are looking maybe at that. Maybe that's something in the future. Once we do have any information, we will be doing. We will actually be doing a lot more of these webinars, new products, new features. So yeah, 100%. If there's any news or anything, we will definitely let you guys know.
Wafik is asking, in which cases would Omada not be a better solution to solutions that are already in place? It will always be a better solution.
Yeah.
What is it?
I get what you mean. So if you have the option to move to either Omada, or if you're installing just cameras, if you're planning on only using the VIGI without the Omada, I would suggest then using the VMS. There's not going to be no difference. If you want to have just one platform, if you're starting out, I'd suggest always just use the Omada Central. Even if you are just using the cameras, you'll get the same functionality. However, if you then decide to go to the Omada, it's much easier then to move, or because you're already there, there's no need to move over. So I think that would probably be the best case. But if you're just planning on using VIGI, the VMS works perfectly fine. But all the same features and functions that you get in the VMS will be in Omada Central. So it really is up to you on how you want to manage it. But I do believe just going with the Omada Central from the start, ensuring you have that, that would work great. I think as well as if you're looking at just with the VMS, you have a local and you do have a cloud. So if you're using the local VMS, just to ensure that you don't have to have everything connected to the cloud, there's no offline or local Omada at the present moment.
Tandwa, I just want to address this comment of yours quickly. You say, remember on the last part, you were showing the plans on the office map. And then you say again, this is what I'm asking. I'm not sure we completely understand you, but if you want to share with your customer the plans and the maps that you've done on Omada itself, yes, that can be shared. But remember, when you do give your customer access to Omada, you will also set rules of what he can see, can he edit, can he view only, and things like that. Also, from the portal on those plans, you can directly export those and to a PDF or whatever, and you can share those with your customer as well. That is also possible to do. I don't know if that answers your question. If it doesn't, I'll just give you a call afterward. We can discuss that further.
Yeah. What's the cost of a paid version? Is it annual? It is an annual license. You're looking at anything. I think if we just blackballing, it's probably about 200 Rand per device per year. So.
But you will be able to get your pricing through your distributor or your reseller that you do buy from.
OLT. I noticed there is a lot effort needed for setting up an OLT switch. Any possibility for ease config tools? At the moment, the OLT, we are still moving forward with a lot of the functionality and stuff. The OLT has a lot more functions and features when not connected to the Omada. So hopefully, as we develop, obviously, those settings are there. It just needs something that needs to be developed into the Omada SDN. Hopefully, we will be doing that more often now that we've added the support for it. So at the moment, the best thing is just to use it, offline. But if you need the cloud connectivity, unfortunately, you won't be getting all the settings and all the configs on the Omada as yet, but we are planning on adding them all in.
What is the Tando was asking, what is the turnaround time support from your help desk, and what did they assist in there is a problem with Omada and VIGI? Our turnaround support time should be 24 hours, Tando. They can assist with anything else, but Francois was also pre-sales, so he can help you immediately. Like we've logged into, we can log into your Omada platform and help you immediately. It all depends on what the issue is. You must also remember that sometimes there is issues that will arise that's going to need some assistance from HQ, and that can be sorted very quickly as well, also depending on the issue. All right, thanks, Tando.
Okay, then Pravin asked, can you export sites from Omada Central? Yes, you can. If you are going to be uploading them to another Omada Central, it will have to be the same cloud, well, a different cloud, and then uploading them into the Omada, another Omada Central setup. So that's the only way you can export and use the Omada Central, is to add to another account of Omada Central.
Next question is there integration with other services on Omada?
We offer full API integration, so open API, and we basically give you the API, we give you the SDK, we say, here's how Omada speaks to all the devices. If there's any software that you actually want to use and incorporate it in, you can then, if you can do that scripting, if you can do that, you can do it yourself. It is possible. And definitely, we've got some people running services like, third-party authentication apps, creating vouchers, then using that to email them, paid for services, adding paid options into the Omada. It's all just basically based on what they can script into their software.
Just want to see if we have answered all the questions. But after the session, we will also be sharing this presentation or the session with you and the presentation. And we will leave our details also. It will be sent through by Saihan, and she will send our details to you guys directly. So if there's any other questions that we have missed or that we are missing, please let us know on email as well. We can communicate further on email. Just want to go through to see if we have answered all your questions. Like it.
Yeah, I think we're also running out of time.
Yeah.
But thank you very much, everyone, for joining. If there's any questions or anything, please feel free to reach out to us. We will definitely assist you guys.
Thank you so much for joining us, guys. Appreciate it. Please speak to us over email if there's any more questions. Okay, we will share our details with you by email. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.